Hello, everybody. How's it going tonight? So we'll go ahead and bow in. Onegaishimasu. So tonight's class is chapter 5, Key Breathing, or Kino Kokyoho. So let me read something from a lecture. Key breathing is a huge subject. Exhaustive personal practice is the key. Key breathing unifies our personal rhythmic vibration with the rhythmic vibration of the universe. When we are in rhythm and harmony with the universe, then there is no limit to what we can do through us or with us. We tend to think in terms of relative opposites: disease or health, failure or success, hate or love, disharmony or harmony. However, our original condition is not relative, but absolute, where no such opposites exist. The absolute or supreme or original mind is beyond the petty differences upon which our personal and social relationships are largely based. Therefore, before this absolute can even be approached, the conditioned personality that derives its existence from the conventional relative point of view must be gradually transformed. This is done through years and years of key breathing in the correct way. And that was written 19 years ago, April 2001, by Curtis Sensei. So I dug that out of the archives to read, just because you know we read the book, and of course it's excellent in describing key breathing. But of course, Curtis Sensei has done many other talks on key breathing, and not just what he put in the book. So I venture to say that it's good to discuss this in this chapter, but also go back and look at the website curtissensei.com and discuss it. And I mean, go back and read what he's written back then in the website, because he's done lots of lectures on key breathing. Of course, that's our foundation of practice here, that Toy Sensei taught. And I'll tell you a little story. And we were, Toy Sensei learned key breathing through a woman uh, that he met at the Ichikukai School of Masogi. And he learned this right before he went to the war, I believe. He was involved in World War II. He went to China. And when he was practicing at the Ichikukai school, this woman basically taught him what is now key breathing. And he went off to war, and she, of course, taught him, cadence breathing and a few other styles of breathing that Curtis Sensei discusses in the book. And he went off to war, he comes back, and he's practicing, and the woman noticed his breathing and said, "Wow, your breathing is like, it's really good." And she bestowed on him a, basically a scroll on all the principles of her ancestors' methods of breathing. So, of course, he has a scroll, and I never heard of the scroll until Otsuka Sensei came to Maui. He came to Maui because Toy Sensei couldn't. It was him and Shinichi. They taught a seminar at the Maui dojo, and Otsuka Sensei, of course, doesn't speak English, so through his translator, he was saying, he told us about the scroll, and he gave a little discussion about how this woman presented the scroll. And the actual story can be is in that red velvet book. If anybody has that red velvet book that Toy Sensei put out, stories in there. But of course, off the cuff, Otsuka Sensei tells a story similar and says, "Oh, by the way, I want to invite all of you to come to World Camp in the fall, and if any of you come to World Camp, please ask me, and I will show you the scroll." Okay. Obviously, he didn't know I was in the audience because I remember a lot of things, and I remembered that story. So we go to headquarters. Of course, I don't know if my first time to Japan. I don't know really anybody, and my friend Mayumi was there, and I said, Mayumi, I said, "Oh, since I told the story, it's fantastic. Have you ever heard the scroll?" She went, "No, I've never heard of the scroll." I said, "He said we could see it. Let's ask." She's like, "Are you sure?" I said, "Yeah. You translate." Right? So we go up there, right? And she translates what I say. And he's like, you could tell, wow, I don't remember telling that story in Maui. I am surprised you even know about this. Okay, thank you. And no more said. And I was like, well, what do you say? What do you do? What's going on? I don't know, Trace, but he was actually very surprised that you asked about this scroll, right? So we're in the meditation hall, and here are these two ushi deshis. These two deshis come, carrying this big clear glass frame, being super careful with it. They bring it into the hall, and he puts it up, and I'm like looking at it, and then Osaka Sensei says, somebody asked if they could see this scroll that about Toy, and he began to tell the story about Toy Sensei and said, "This is a scroll that was given to Toy Sensei, and with great trepidation and danger, we took it out of its spot, which it hadn't moved in like 50 years, to bring it to you guys to show you." And I'm going, "Oh dear Lord, I didn't think they would actually bring it out. I thought we'd actually like go there and view it. Instead, they freaking took it off the wall, brought it into the Gaijin torture chamber, and I'm sure, I was just a nobody. So I'm like, nobody knew who asked, I don't think. I think Curtis Sensei's like looking around going, who in the hell? Of course, me. Hi, me. I asked because I wanted to see it. I was actually genuinely curious. I really wanted to see this scroll because I thought, I was really into calligraphy, and brought it down and showed us. It's never been shown ever again. I don't even know where it is, but it's probably never left where it has been. I mean, they probably have that away. They don't tell that story anymore. So whoever was at World Camp that year got to see that scroll, and it was a nice scroll. I mean, it's a really good story. It's a good story, of course, and I'm a sucker for a good story. And but of course, it didn't do anything to me. It didn't like suddenly I was miraculously breathing perfectly after that segment, and seeing and completely fully enlightened after seeing that scroll. No, but it really made me think about, wow, Toy Sensei really, for this woman to pick him out of the blue by watching how he did his breathing and meditation at the Ichikukai school, which is a tremendously difficult school, says something. Says something about his character, says something about his practice. And there's no more scrolls to give out to you guys, but you guys can have that same experience, the same experience he has and had when he was seen by that lady. You can also have that experience, and I think it's important to know that key breathing is one of those practices that you just do it every day, maybe every other day. I always tell people, try to do it, 10, 15 minutes a day, build it up to 30 minutes. If you can establish a practice of 20 minutes of really solid key breathing every day, you'll be surprised what that does. You'll just be surprised, I'm telling you. And, combining that with some meditation practices, of course, according to class, will advance your practice. And of course, we don't want to look at it as, the carrot, so to speak, but it's something that, you just do. Just practice, because that's what we do. That's why you practice Aikido. Well, this is the foundation of practice in Aikido. If you like seeing Aikido in action, this is what the foundation is. If you like doing cool techniques, this is what the foundation is. You ain't gonna do it. You ain't gonna be able to do that kind of training or that kind of techniques if you don't have a foundation. So, that being said, we could discuss anything, in this chapter. I don't know if any of you reread it, but there's a lot to cover in there. There's not only key breathing, there's retention breathing, there's cadence breathing, haku breathing, of course. Then there's ki, and there's the different levels of breathing that Curtis Sensei often talks about. There's a lot of material here, so we can hit it from all different angles. How about you, Phoenix?
I am key breathing regularly and still learning to let my body do what it wants to do, because even with breathing, I tend to control it. It's interesting. Lately, I have had have some trouble sleeping, so I have a CPAP machine. It puts like positive pressure, and it has actually been remarkable because it opens my belly so much when I'm sleeping that my breathing has changed a lot since then. It's sort of like, oh, this is how it works. So but just that, I think I'm still also, one of the things that happens is I tend to get tight right here, both in the in breath and the out breath. More, it's just, I can tell that's like my sort of first sign that I'm getting tight. So maybe talking about that or helping a little bit with that would be something that would be useful to me. I just figure I work it out over time, but if you have any advice, I would appreciate it, or guidance.
Well, tension anywhere in your body, what causes tension? Your mind, Right. So, when you sit down to key breathe, you're kind of putting a spotlight on yourself, you know? So if you are having tension, you're going to, oh my God, the anxiety is going to build up. And of course, you feel tense. So a lot of times, if you breathe long enough, mm-hmm. your tension will go away. It just will.
That's right.
And yeah, so you start out, maybe you're not so tense. And the key is not to force the breath. I used to force, meaning I would purposely go and try to really do a deep breath and really do an exhale. And then, of course, you're like, oh, I don't like my exhales, but I like my inhales, or I like my inhales and I don't like my exhale. Right?
Yes.
Right? I'm sure you've gone through that. I mean, I ask the beginners when I do the beginners class, I go, so how many people really have good inhales and how many people like the exhales? And they're all all over the place. There's half the class that likes inhaling, that hates exhaling, and the opposite. And I said, well, the thing of it is, it's just breathe. Your body knows how to breathe. So don't force it. Of course, when we're in breathing class and Sensei's got the clackers and he's controlling when you inhale or exhale, that was really hard for me to do, because okay, I couldn't exhale or inhale for 15 seconds. Back in the day, they were doing 20 in, 20 out. So of course you take cheap breaths and then you feel bad about it and you're like, oh, then you're out of rhythm and you're just not having a good time. And the thing of it is, you got to have a good time to relax. It's got to be fun. So when you're by, this is why when you're by yourself, you can put on music if you like soft music. You can listen to an audio book. You can listen to Curtis Sensei's lectures. You can do whatever you want to do. It's your time. And whatever helps you relax, I say do it. And then breathe with it and watch how your breathing changes. That's the thing to be aware of, is how your breathing changes. Like when you're breathing from your diaphragm. And Shaner Sensei, when he teaches breathing, he has everyone lay on their back. And that's how he teaches breathing. I was at a seminar with him, 30 people on the mat laying down. And we did breathing, and 90% of us fell asleep because we were so relaxed, right? But it wasn't, and he didn't get upset at that. He said, listen, he said, when you're fully relaxed and you're breathing naturally, of course, when you're laying down, you have a tendency to go to sleep. That's why, of course, we try to sit up in a chair, and that doesn't stop some people from going to sleep during deep breathing class. Um, you know, I I've seen it often myself, and I've done it myself, where if you're just really tired, you just fall asleep because you're tired. So I guess there's really no advice I can do. You have to find your own advice, and you just have to find what makes you relaxed and comfortable. Then just don't force the breath. Just breathe naturally, and even if it's just 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, or it doesn't have to even be timed, you know. And you'll be surprised. Just the repetition over and over again helps. Does that
Thank
help?
you. Yes, it does. Thank you.
So, anyone else? I don't mind calling on
Yeah,
people.
I can speak to that. You said something about breathing from the diaphragm, and as the pedant who is a voice teacher, you technically don't breathe from the diaphragm. You breathe from your intercostal muscles, which are down here. The diaphragm simply responds to relaxation, so it's up like this, or when you inhale and your lungs are full, it's like this. So that's what causes the tummy to push out. And when I was teaching voice, I would have students lie on the floor. I told them to bring a towel or something, lie on the floor, and just breathe, so that they could discover how to breathe, because so many of them are used to breathing like this, and people do that. So in key breathing, for me, posture is incredibly important. And I found that when I first broke my leg and I had to lie down a lot, um, key breathing was difficult because I would fall asleep. I mean, lying down, fall asleep, get relaxed. Now that I can sit up more and walk around using both legs with the walker, then it's easier to do that, to take the complete breath. But you really have to, as Curtis Sensei said in um, one session several weeks ago, a lot of people don't let go of the lower muscles, and you have to let go of those in order to breathe to your one point. So, and I was looking at this last page where it's the Chinese philosophy about breathing. Everybody should read that one. That's really, really interesting, because he says the calmness which you find at rest is not true calmness. Only the calmness you find in action is genuine. That
That's
would
next
be
week.
that.
That's
That
next
would.
week.
Hmm?
We're going to be covering that next week.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like
Well,
fun.
that will be fun.
No, yeah, I get it. Yeah, you're exactly right. The muscle, yeah, you really have to relax your lower abdomen to really be able to breathe fully. And a lot of people, Curtis Sensei used to call it the belt of tension around, that you carry all this tension in your lower stomach area. And that tension really restricts your lungs from fully expanding, just like you said. And if you teach voice, yeah, absolutely, you can't sing if you have tension in your lower abdomen. It just doesn't work. And that's really common. We carry a lot of stress and tension. A lot of people, like you said, oh, Phoenix said that, oh, I get stress here, this is where I notice it. And everybody, some people may notice in their shoulders, some people more everybody's different, so we notice our stress in different places. So if you have stress in that one area, likely you have stress in other areas. That's just predominant. So if you're tense up here, likely you're tense down there too. So you know relaxing is super important. And
Yeah,
it's,
when she was, I think she was saying that when she was breathing, she could feel it up here.
yeah,
That means that you haven't relaxed these muscles down here to let it go all the way down. So
right.
the way I would teach voice students to take a quick breath, a full breath, is, pretend you're in the swimming pool with your brother or your bigger brother or sister, and they're about to push you under the water, and you go, and you feel those muscles. That's breathing completely down there because your lungs fill up in preparation for being dunked and held under the water.
Great. Yeah, in fact, it was one time in Japan. Otsuka Sensei says, somebody said, "Why do you do key?" They asked. They said, "Oh, why? What's so important about doing key breathing? Why do you do key breathing?" And somebody said, "Well, I do key breathing to relax." And he went, "No, you must be relaxed to do real key breathing, right? Because if you're not fully relaxed, you're stifling your breathing. It's shallow. It's very shallow breathing. So you're not getting the full benefit. So I wouldn't go to the extent of what Otsuka said, saying, no, that's completely wrong, because it's a start. We got to start somewhere. And I'd rather be encourageable, encourage people rather than not. So, I think, finding your place in, and it just comes down to being aware. The awareness of your breath, the awareness of your lungs, the awareness of your body. Once you get your body and get fully aware of it, that really helps a lot. What do you think, Lillian Paiva Sensei?
I think this is a great subject. And Gloria, I think we say we breathe from the diaphragm because I don't know what muscles those are and probably can't say them. Diaphragm's easy to remember.
Well, Lillian, I can tell you, but don't worry about it. But
you should type it in.
I should what?
What? I said just type it into to everyone in the message.
Okay.
In the chat. Yeah, that'd be nice to know. I've been lying all these years. Okay. Other than that, I can only speak to my own experience with the key breathing. And it was really funny how when I got ready for my Shodan test, I looked at everything. I said, well, the only thing I can do to help myself really is key breathe, because I don't have the dojo time or the ukes to practice with. I tried to get to Hilo whenever I could. But I thought, well, if anything's going to help me, it's going to be the meditation. And so I really amped up my meditation. And that's when it kind of went from key breathing on its own, where I start off every meditation session for me, key breathing. Somewhere along the line, it switches to key meditation. And then some nights, even that sort of disappears and I'm just there. And it's amazing. I love it. And I got to tell you, I was really happily surprised that when I went to do the Shodan test, that I felt so comfortable and I felt such love from everybody in the room. And that was all due to really amping up my meditation. So I guess that's my story.
So how do you encourage people to do breathing for students in your dojo?
Well, I'll tell you, and then you can probably ask, because a couple of them are here. But basically, I start even with my little kids class. We usually end the class with, well, the little kids, only a few minutes of key breathing. And then I try to make time at the end of the adult class for at least 10 minutes of key breathing. And I tell them, you know, it's a suggestion because I can't make them do it, but that they start, like you were saying, you know, even if it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, you start off, it becomes a habit. You make it a habit. And when you start realizing the results from it, you want to continue. Even though it's, you know, feels like work sometimes, I think you feel the benefit. And the parents of the students, I encourage them to come also. If they want to come and sit on the mat at the end of class, they can, or to sit and watch what we do. And it usually turns out that the parents of the children are the ones that try to make them quiet time at bedtime to do it. So, but I'm hoping that the biggest way I can teach is by example, because that's what I get from all you folks.
Nice. Yes. Great. Thank you for sharing. So Fincher.
Hello, Sensei. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Good, good, good. Well, you know, I really liked what Curtis Sensei described, and I've been kind of changing the focus of my key breathing when he reminded us that Tohei Sensei said, you know, the emphasis needs to be on the transition of your key breathing rather than being so attached to the actual technique of key breathing in and out. And I've heard that before, but you know, I actually took it to heart this time and started doing that. And it's interesting, like everything else, you know, when you stop attaching to something and you extend past that, tension gets released somehow. You know, things change. So, you know, in breathing, if I'm not focusing on, you know, how long I'm breathing, whether I'm doing a good technique, whether I'm breathing long enough out, long enough in, whether I have tension or anything else, I stop focusing on that and I focus on the transition point. It tends to, I think you have an easier time letting those things go because most of those are you're holding on to something. You know, if you're tense, you're holding on to something. And sometimes looking at that tension doesn't necessarily release it in my mind. Like Sensei said, you know, instead of looking at the negative, you know, look at the positive. So it's kind of relates to that actually, because as I look at the transition, that point of transition, I can never find it. So it makes me look further and a little bit further, a little bit further. And it's kind of a technique of extending your mind. And you find that you're paying a lot less attention to all of these details, you know, in your breathing. So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. I saw a distinct difference in what I was doing as I was breathing. A lot less mental attachment and thought process and everything else. It was really pretty neat. So I guess that's my comment on my latest change in key breathing.
Yeah, isn't that funny? They discuss, you know, the pause they've discussed for a long time. You know, I remember it being discussed when, you know, they would have these key breathing classes at headquarters. And I when I first, you know, thought, oh, we're going to key breathing class. Wow, it's going to be what, hour breathing, you know, but of course we didn't do hardly any breathing. We of course did a little bit, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but it wasn't a breathing class like I was expecting. It was more like, hey, let's get with your partner, let's check. You know, they talked about the pause, they, you know, put your hands, you know, to make sure when their breaths go out, and, you know, check how much, you know, they're relaxed and what have you, and key test them, of course, and yeah, that was really good. I enjoyed that, and you know, Curtis Sensei talking about the pause, you know, between, and instead of, you know, technique is always good. We have to teach technique, you know, 1 move, 2 move, 3, so people have a basic understanding of how to move or breathe or etc. But of course, once you know the steps, don't get stuck on the steps. Just gotta breathe, just gotta move, you know, in an efficient way. And of course, you know, group breathing is different than solo breathing. When you breathe on your own, you're breathing on your own. But when you're in a group session, you know, like on Wednesdays or Sundays that we're having now on Zoom that we used to have in the dojo, you know, it's, you have to think of it as a group exercise, right? And it's like whoever's leading the breathing is the head of the snake. And then everybody else has to move like the snake, the head of the snake. And that's how uh, you graduate into different levels of breathing. Because if you just breathe on your own, you know, you could be practicing something not so good. There's something incorrect, where the group practice kind of puts you in alignment with the group. And whether it be how, you know, the inhales or the exhales, or where you feel comfortable, but it's going to iron out the problems that may arise when you're breathing on your own. Because if you just breathe on your own, you can get discouraged and stop. Where, if you know, we want to breathe on our own every day, and then we come to the classes to kind of get in sync with the group and breathe with the group. And whether it be the breaths are too long, or some people are like, oh, he's not breathing long enough, or oh, he's breathing too short, you know, or you get people saying both those, when actually it's not about that. It's just about working as one, connecting with the group. Because that's what it is. You're practicing connection, right? You think you're just practice connection with techniques, but actually you're practicing connection in group exercises like key breathing, key meditation, misogi. Those are all very important exercises, or as we say, group exercises. Like going to a dojo party is a group exercise. Going to Sunday workday is a group exercise. There are lots of group exercises as well as individual exercises. So, good point, Fincher. Alaria, how are you tonight?
I'm well, Sensei. Thank you. I've been sitting more lately, and I make myself key breathe. So far, I'm key breathing exclusively because I realize that it's my least favorite, because it didn't used to be, but now I find it's my least favorite because I struggle with it more. And when I key breathe alone, it's like I want to practice being able to breathe out for as long as I have to when we're key breathing, like in a group with you or with Curtis Sensei. And so I find myself struggling. And then to kind of remedy that, I think of like things that senseis have said in the past about key breathing, because it shouldn't feel like a struggle. And I remember a sensei in Japan when I went to World Camp, and I don't remember his name, but he said, just keep one point and breathe. So I thought about that. And this Sunday, this Sunday, Curtis Sensei talked about well, so he did a very super, in the Spanish class, he did that very super brief meditation of like listening to silence. And he said, now just that feeling that you have, now do it with key breathing. And it feels free. So that's something I might try incorporating into my practice too. And I also appreciate like the advice you gave Phoenix, because I think that Phoenix and I are kind of have the same type of issue. And on a side note, I feel like whenever Curtis Sensei leads a group meditation, it's way easier. I feel a much deeper state of meditation. And when I'm doing it by myself, it's not always like that. So.
Sure. You reminded me of a few years ago, a couple years ago, you know, and when we were practicing, you know, the Wednesday Zoom classes that we have now are set up pretty much like the dojo in Maui's classes when we have a Wednesday meditation breathing class. Curtis Sensei starts out, does 20 to 30 minutes of key breathing. Then we stand up and we walk around the room, sit back down, and then he does the bell and he kakudai ho shuchu. Then after that, he goes to the back and, you know, we do just meditation. Everybody turns off the lights in the dojo, get turned out except for the showmen light. And that's what he does. Well, a few years ago, he mixed it up a little bit. And I think it was really funny because the people's reactions were hilarious. Instead of starting out with key breathing, he started out with key meditation. So we did key meditation for 20 minutes. Then we did key breathing for 20 minutes. And then we did a little bit of kakudai ho, shuchu ho with the bell, and then sit. So it was just a little bit mixed up, a little bit different. And some people got really grumpy about it, didn't like that style. And other people loved it. I loved it phase because it allowed me to get into the zone for 20 minutes. Then I was fully relaxed by the time I started my key breathing. So to me, it turned out that key breathing was much easier. So I find, you know, if you're by yourself and you're having trouble with key breathing, just do meditation first. And then whenever it arises in you to key breathe. Maybe it won't, maybe it will, but that will help. And it's good to mix it up like that because your brain gets a certain way. And then when you change, that's the thing, people just don't like change. And usually, I mean, it was kind of priceless because during this time period, there was a gentleman from Russia who came to visit our dojo. And of course, one day Curtis Sensei was out. So when Curtis Sensei's out, he usually has me teach the class. So I taught it just like he had been teaching it, meditation, breathing thing. After the class, the guy was like, what the hell are you doing? What is going on? Why did you do it this way? He's taking all kinds of notes. He's like wondering why it's now different and suddenly it's changed. And he's got to go back and recite the change to everyone in Russia and tell everybody what's going on now. And I said, no, we're just doing this as a fun exercise. Nothing's really changed. And even if it did, it wasn't really a big change. Meditation before breathing, breathing before meditation. I don't know. Is it heads or is it tails? Because they're both the same coin. So it's just fun. Maybe the next Wednesday class that I teach will do that. I'll throw everyone for a loop. And if you guys come to that class, you'll be in on the joke. What I do, meditation first, and then we'll do breathing. We'll see what reactions we get. Maybe they'll like email Curtis and say and be like, Tracy has gone crazy in Wednesday class or something like that. It'll be a hoot, I'm telling you. So anyway, gives me good ideas there. So Kaomi, how are you tonight?
I'm doing well, Sensei. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I thank you for this topic. I'm learning a lot because, you know, I started not long ago. And actually, I have never learned formally how to do key breathing or meditation. So I'm learning by listening. Basically, I read the Tohei Sensei's book and look at the picture, and then so I have some technical questions. When you exhale, you're supposed to tilt, right, a little bit to, like, that's what the pictures looked like. So I am trying to do it, but because I'm closing my meditation, I can't see what everybody was doing. So I would like to know how, if you still tilt or that changed, and how, if you tilt, how much you tilt. I try to kind of, feel it, but I don't know, basically.
I love it. I love that question, because this is a funny question. This question is fun for me because, of course, when I started 20 years ago, 25 years ago, there was at our dojo, there was big movement, man. Everybody was like, really moving back and forth. I mean, we look like a willow tree, for God's sake. And of course, in the book, if you read Key in Daily Life, it shows a slight angle. And of course, they kind of cleared that up. Later on, they kind of refined it more because people were taking it to the extreme. Give somebody an inch, they're going to take a mile. And what it comes down to is, and this is how it's been explained to me by Curtis Sensei, and of course by headquarters. And that is, there's very little movement. The movement is only there to put a little bit of pressure on your lungs to help you with that last bit of air. You know what? If you don't think about it, you'll do it naturally. If you don't think about it, people got it in their how much do I move? And then you're getting people like, okay, is it what angle? How many degrees do you move? I mean, seriously, I'm telling you, people were asking those type of questions like, okay, am I moving too much? Am I moving enough? And it's not about that. If you just breathe naturally in that seiza position or sitting up in a chair position, you'll naturally get your own rhythm. And that rhythm, you'll get in touch with, like what I said, or not what I said, but what Curtis Sensei wrote, and I read at the beginning of class, is, it puts you, your personal rhythmic vibration with the rhythmic vibration of the universe. And, when you're entering that pause, 1, 2, 3, and then the inhale naturally comes. And then you exhale 1, 3, and then the inhale naturally comes again. So if you just, not think about your breathing in such a way of how much I move or don't move, you'll probably be fine. You'll probably be fine. And the next time we can all get together and maybe you can come, you can just go, hey, check my breathing out, and they'll give you some pointers, and you'll be fine. But in the meantime, I'd say don't worry about it. Don't worry about moving too much or too little. Just do what you feel is natural. And the thing of it is we tend, when we get down to the practicing the wrong way, it's usually because we've read something. And of course, when you read something, you can then in your brain, you'll amplify it, and then you're going to be like doing it way to the extreme, and then you're going to have to be pulled back a little bit. So I would say just, whatever's natural, and it ain't going to be very much.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
May I ask one more question?
Oh, sure.
I was able to bring the inhaling the breath into the belly. I can see my belly goes up. Mm-hmm. And after that, can I expand my chest too?
Yeah, you could. If you think
just the belly.
You can. I wouldn't think of it as in a certain position, think about your whole body expanding and contracting, not just
Okay.
a specific part. Because this is what you're getting into is you want to do whole body breathing, not just belly breathing. It's whole body breathing.
Whole body. So from the belly and also chest expanses.
Yeah, and just remember everything begins and ends in the one point.
Yes.
So it begins in the one point and it ends in one point, and it's your whole body.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. John, are you sleeping? That's an inside joke, by the way.
Hi, Sensei. Hi, everyone. No, I'm just writing notes. You know, trying to consolidate all my thoughts about key breathing, and I'll just share it with you guys. Yeah. So I'm thinking more and more the foundation of key breathing is posture and relaxation. Those go hand in hand, and so basically, if you have good posture and you relax, then you're breathing from your one point. And then that the residual is calmness and being able to listen and notice. From there, you can go on to your arts and do your arts correctly. And then point of transition, I was trying to define that being in the mind is not being in the mind is not actually being in the one point, if that makes sense. So yeah.
So how do you like key breathing compared to key meditation?
I kind of treat it the same recently. I kind of stopped giving myself a hard time on technique. Like you were saying, that doesn't matter too much, and so I no longer think about how to do it correctly, but just do it, like without thinking and without just relax and just do it. Yeah.
Oh, good. So, Sasaki Sensei, you're with us here tonight. We're discussing key breathing, chapter 5. Yeah, I know she's on the iPhone, so it takes a little bit to.
So it's key breathing and just how we do it or how we experience it. Because my hero is Lillian. We're both night breathers. And lately, because of COVID, I still leave the house at 5 o'clock to make it to work on time. So now I'm sitting in my car and it's early. You know, they don't open the building until 6 o'clock. So I'm sitting there at 5:30. And because I drove all the way to work in traffic that wasn't quite too bad, I do sit quietly for a while. And then I start to do breathing in the car. Okay. Because I have like 20 minutes or so. Because now I can do it in the morning. The problem was I started doing, instead of exhaling ha, I had to do hey, because I was sitting there breathing and it was summer, so it became light earlier. And as I was breathing out, all of a sudden somebody's banging on my window saying, "Hey, you okay?" I waved and you didn't wave back. So now I'm sitting there with a meditative stare going, so when somebody waves as they walk by, I can go, you do what you have to do. But, I do a slight meditative calmness before I do the breathing because, regardless of whether the traffic was light, it was still like, I'm traveling at least 60 something miles per hour and everybody else seems to go faster. So I have to be more attentive. By the time I get to work and I park there and I'm like, okay, you know? But yeah, I find meditation, I do enjoy the breathing part. In the beginning, the very beginning, it was difficult. And, you know, my experience was you exhale with the sound of ha, and you have to have your head in a certain position as you run out of air. You never go out of exhale position, but you go slightly forward to get that little bit out. And then there's a 1, 2, 3 count transition. You close your mouth softly, and then you breathe in as like you're breathing in the entire universe. And they used to tell you, you fill up toes first and all the way up, and then you move back to your normal position. And it was a slight movement. And after a while, you know, you just did it out of habit or by rote, and you don't think about it anymore. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think about it anymore. Whatever feels good and feels easy, I will breathe. And morning breathing is pretty good, I must say, Lillian. Even it is sometimes embarrassing. And as for the kids, yeah, the kids, I start them out the same way, so they have some kind of road map to follow. But I also added that, you know, if you're coming out of it, you know, exhaling, and you come slightly forward, and you're being tested, it'll tell the person who's testing you that you're running out of air. So you might want to keep that. And when did we go to no sound? Because I can remember what Toei Sensei telling all of us, when you breathe out, when you breathe in, you know, so now we're not doing any sound. But
Yeah,
it's taking me, you know, it's taken me a while, but, you know, sometimes I will go back into that slight habit. But, you know, I'm trying to breathe quietly.
right.
It's nobody's banging on my window going, hey, you okay?
Right. Yeah, they changed that, what, like 10, 15 years ago, I think, something like that. They were discussing it, but of course it's a hard habit for people to break who've started, you know, back in the day, they were,
Yeah.
remember, I was taught that. I was taught that.
And a lot of
loud.
people had a difficult time making that noise in and inhale.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I get it. And now you don't do that. It's not necessary.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, everything is becoming more and more refined. You know, just like, you know, we haven't talked about haku breaths, but, you know, it used to be, you know, people were really, you know, throwing air out. And
I mean, I can remember Nonaka Sensei grabbing the back of my neck, and every time I exhale, he goes wham, wham. It's like I thought he was going to put my head through the floor.
Right. And now it's actually really quiet and soft, and not, you know, it's just a matter of refinement. Things are just becoming more and more refined as our teachers are practicing, we're practicing, and, you know, it's kind of like
I still use it, Tracy, though, that hard
breathing.
No, you know why? Because when I get sick and I have a congestion, bronchial thing, I can hack out anything.
Right. Well, it's from the word throw up, you know, the Japanese word throw up. That's where haku comes from. So yeah, it was done very forceful. And it's, you know, it's not that way anymore. It's a lot more refined. So that's good. Thank you very much for sharing. Vitali, how's your breathing coming along there, my friend?
Hello, Sensei. Hello, everyone. It is a very interesting discussion today because I understand that the problems, the difficulties with keep breathing I faced in my life is common for many people.
Yes. It surely is.
From research time, it was too difficult to do keep breathing because very many things I have to be under control. I have to find if is there any tension in some part of my body. What is my balance? Is it good or not? How long I breathe out and breathe in, and my movements, many things under control. And it was awful. It was too hard and awful. From time to time, one more difficulty is that I was a swimmer in the past, and my breathing is very short breath in and long breath out. I like when I swim. And it is too difficult in group breathing because when I breathe in, I wait for all the group. It's time, as Kuta Sensei said, time between. My time between is very long. And
That's right. Because we have that muscle memory from being a swimmer. All that muscle memory of all those years are really set in you, so it makes it hard.
Yeah.
Sure.
And when I breathe out, I have a full. I full, but I hear that I have to finish my breath out.
Oh.
And it was a real problem with group breathing. And the next problem is balance. As the state of my body is changed, when I breathing, when I move, my balance is changed. And sometimes I lose my balance, and I understand I don't pass some test. This is the problems that I faced during my keep breathing.
Yeah, it sounds like a great opportunity to learn new muscle memory. And that's a good opportunity. And probably you're moving too much. Maybe don't move as much,
This concern not only moving, but the state of my body. My stomach is goes bigger and smaller, and it changed my state of my body and my balance. Not only the movement up and down.
I would probably give you the pointer to breathe from your one point. Think about only breathing from your one point and ending in your one point, and not about any other thing. That, if putting your mind in your one point really helps your posture, really helps your state of balance when you think of one point in that aspect. Moving, any type of movement, any type of breath, if like I gave some people some advice of just everything begins and ends in the one point in the lower abdomen. If you really fixate and concentrate on that and and make that your primary goal, it helps with so many other things. Meditation, breathing, moving, just that movement, beginning and ending in the one point in the lower abdomen is essential.
Okay, thank you, Sensei. I will try to do this way.
Yeah. Keep me posted. Let me know how it goes. You can always ask any kind of question from the past in this class, so that's always okay. So, Charlotte, I see you now. You've appeared.
Okay, so I just thank for the experience of the others. So I take some points out of that. And yes. Keep breathing. I tried it very much when I started years ago. We did it with much of it was explained very much how you have to do it with the sound and the movement, and I really tried to do it for some time, and I felt it was not good. I put more tension into my body than relaxing, and that didn't feel very good. And somehow I still get stuck a bit on that point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't drop it by it, but I don't really do it. I try to do meditation very much at the moment. So there already I feel it's by times I do at the moment for some weeks. Since some weeks I really do each day 3 times 25 minutes of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
First 25 minutes, no problem. Second, by times at the beginning was already difficult because too much tension come up. I can't stay, and I try not to force me. When I feel it's getting too hard, maybe I just get up. I do walking for some time. When I feel now I can restart, I go back. And so I like that. I'm doing 3 times 25 minutes at the moment, but keep breathing at the moment. I just don't do it. Right. I'm open for it. I see that's just the point where I am, and I will see how it goes on. It's okay. It's no problems. I enjoy the experiences of the others, and it's okay like that. But that's how it is. Okay.
Yeah, you're not the only one that I hear. I've heard these stories before. There's a person in our dojo, longtime practitioner, long time, and practiced longer than myself. And we're in a class. We're in one of the discussion groups, I believe, on key breathing. And longtime meditator, very serious practitioner, raises his hand. I think the subject was key breathing. I think it was on the Shokushu that's on the website. And he asked the question, Sensei, I don't like key breathing. I've never liked key breathing. It's brought up tension in me every time I've done it. I just can't do it. I just don't like it. I'll do it in class, and that's the only time I do it. Otherwise, I just do meditation, and I do, long time meditator for years and years and years. That's what I do. So Curtis Sensei asked him, he said, well, I notice your breathing, and you really do struggle in class with your breathing. Why are you struggling with your breathing? Well, and he gives this answer, and Curtis Sensei basically said, no, I think you're getting too much caught up in your struggle. You need just to breathe and do it from your one point, and do it from a sense of relaxation. Then, how do you meditate? And he said, oh, well, meditation, and this is why I like it. And he said, think about it. It's the same thing. You're just breathing. You're breathing during meditation, right? I think it was more about a control issue because of the Sokoboku, in my opinion. But, you know, he came out and said, he gave him, you know, Curtis Sensei gave him a bunch of pointers, and he said, wow, that really changed my whole perspective on breathing. Thank you very much. And I would say to anybody who says, I don't like key breathing, I'd say, that's okay. Meditate, but at the end of your meditation, when you're going to end, do 3 breaths like you would. Keep breathing. Just 3 at the end of your meditation. And I bet you'll find a change. I'm willing to bet you'll find a change. You'll be like, oh, wow, that was different. Let me try that again, you know? And you'd be surprised, because when you meditated 20 minutes, it takes about 20 minutes for your mind to really settle. And when you start getting past that 20-minute mark for the average person, you know, that's meditating, you're going to see a shift you're going to see a shift. And so at the end, if you just did 3 breaths, just 3, you would find, wow, that's really no different than what I'm doing. So I just say that much. But, you know, we're out of time. In fact, a little bit over. And I do have something to read. It's not a story, but it's a paragraph. It's really good. What we call I is just a swinging door, which moves when we inhale and when we exhale. When we practice meditation, our mind is always following our breath. When we inhale, the air comes into the inner world. When we exhale, the air goes out to the outer world. The inner world is limitless, and the outer world is also limitless. We say inner world or outer world, but actually there's just one whole world. In this limitless world, our throat is like a swinging door. The air comes in and goes out, like someone passing through a swinging door. If you think, I breathe, the I is extra. There's no you to say I. What we call I is just a swinging door, which moves when we inhale and when we exhale. It just moves. That is all. When your mind is pure and calm enough to follow this movement, there is nothing. No I, no world, no mind, nor body. Just a swinging door. And that was written by Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, and that's from one of my favorite books, Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. So with that, next week, we'll cover Saikon Tom, and have a good one. And we'll go ahead and close. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you all very much.